Correct.
Okay, it's 7:01. I will call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. And we're here for a Q1 financial report for 2023. I will hand it off to Director Johnson.
All right. Typical short Q1 report. Two notables, nothing surprising as of yet until Q2, before we do some comparisons. Decline in the municipal court budget. Just standard, I guess there were just less citations going around. And two, the other notable would be the increase to interest income is drastically over what we budgeted for, but that's just because rates have like unprecedentedly just skyrocketed over the last few months or so. Outside of that, is there any other things you guys read or questions?
I did have a question on, let's see, page 51, and now I'm not sure my pages are going to line up here. It was the ARPA funding. I'm always interested in knowing, because it was sort of a gift from the federal government with COVID, specifically where we are with that funding. I think it was a $320,000 figure. The budget area is 400, 3650, 5637 0. It just says it has the aggregate amount, and I would be looking for some specific numbers there. I think in all of that, we also have different things like the audio-visual piece. We had the street light project, and I just saw that it had everything under one lump sum. And I guess going forward, it'd be good to have that. And I'm sorry, I was out of town. I would have let you know sooner. I started looking at this today. Itemized what is for what and how much is spent at the end of the first quarter.
We should have some breakdowns of those figures coming to definitely in the Q2 report, but before that one, it'll be in the LRP.
Okay.
We'll see a more defined breakdown, just because they got the numbers back to us a little later than we expected.
I'm guessing a lot of that money is spent, and I was just wondering, I mean, one of those expenses is the first floor renovation for customer service and the clerk. And so I was just wondering how much was spent, how much is to be spent. I was thinking in the back of my mind, we had $30,000 left somewhere from that ARPA money. And if we do going forward, that'd be good to know. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any more context around what we can expect around the court fines moving forward.
Haven't got a chance myself to dig a lot into that or hold a lot of conversations around it.
Okay.
But I can definitely get you some more info on that one.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's seasonal or if this is still post-COVID. Is it, I mean, I think we changed some things about parking fines during COVID.
Right.
And so is this a long-term trend or is this temporary?
And define long-term, what would you say long?
Kind of for me at this point, it's like, what were we doing before COVID?
Okay.
So what did 1819 look like? And the other thing that makes it kind of timely is we changed the parking rules for the village. So we had very restrictive on-street parking before, did it go in 2020? And then we really loosened it up. And so I'm wondering, is the lower number of fines due to the fact that people are buying permits and maybe getting less fines because they spent the money to buy a permit.
Yeah, and we also changed the times for that people could be ticketed for overnight as well, as part of that.
Correct.
If you recall,
The
so we saw,
hours.
right, so that gave us
The hours
some more time to
changed.
ticket. And
So
so we
maybe the
saw
question
spikes,
is,
or have we seen any behavior
Yeah.
change or
Like-
anything? Just want to get a
we
sense.
kind of
of-
feel like we're not comparing apples and apples. And if we know we're comparing apples and oranges, knowing that distinction, can that help us understand those numbers in terms of the lower revenue? And unfortunately, Chief Worth is fairly new too. So she won't have a lot of great perspective on that because she wasn't here either, but hopefully the data will indicate.
Yeah, we'll try to find that. We can figure out what's making the correlations.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't have any questions.
I did have a question about liability insurance for the lifeguards. And I have that on 72. I was always under the, and I don't have any great recollection of this, but I thought that the lifeguards that we hired got their own liability insurance. Now, maybe we still pay something, but I noticed it was about $2,300. I know in the scheme of things, this is small. Maybe regardless whether they have their own insurance, we have to double insure. I don't know, but it stood out to me because I thought when we did that contract, it was a 3-year contract for the lifeguards. I thought they were always responsible for getting their own insurance, and I saw that there. So I was curious about that.
So you know that?
Atwater parking lot lights, page 74. So I'm thinking that's gotta be the school, and this could just be my lack of knowledge. If the Atwater, we paid for some improvements on Atwater parking lot lights. I was just curious about that, whether that would be a school district expense or something we have traditionally done. And then I think this is back, my computer's locked up. I think the other thing I was wondering, back on page 51, it talked about River Park. There were different projects listed there. And one of them was River Park, and it had leftover bond proceeds from Hubbard Park. So I think it's about $23,000. So Hubbard Park, it was my understanding, Hubbard Park had some leftover money from a project, and we were going to use it to build a bike connector or something on the south end of the property. And that's since been reconsidered, if not killed completely. And I guess my question becomes, what are our options for that $23,000 going forward? And maybe we're just going to continue to look for a connector there from Oakland to the Oak Leaf Trail. It got tight there because when they redid the sewer there, there's literally no room there. I don't see any room for a bike connector. But anyway, other people in the know might know. And my final thought, and this is so random and so old, under electric charges on page 74, Humboldt Park always comes up. It's a very small amount. It's like $22. And I really think it's Humboldt Park, which is, so right when you enter Sherwood from the south, there's a little tiny park on the east side of Oakland Avenue. And it's called Humboldt, as being Humboldt, Humble, but
Humboldt.
it's always
Street.
Humboldt. And I just can't figure out, I thought, I kept thinking, how can I not know Sherwood enough to know where our Humboldt Park is? And I'm to the point where I think, check with Leanne, I think it's Humboldt Park.
You gotta spend more time here, Kathy.
I know, I gotta get out more. Let's see. I did notice, I think you had highlighted, because I had mentioned at the last meeting about credit card fees, and there were some that were in red on this document. Just the water, sewer, and parking alone is about $12,000. And that doesn't include it's just 3 months. So I mean, I think we talked about discussing that for budget
Yeah.
2024. We want to keep incurring the finance charges for someone paying with a credit card. So I'm guessing that's why they were highlighted.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
And this is not related to this quarter, but just for the budget in general, at one point, and I can talk to President McKay. At one point last year, the school district talked about adding a resource officer. And if they were to do that for the coming school year, we would need to know that as soon as possible for hiring. Was anybody else in that?
You got the sense they want to do that? I haven't heard.
They did. It was like last fall.
I think Joanne raised it as a possibility.
Did we at that meeting too? I wish I.
I mean, it's a new supervisor.
Because that's a position.
Yeah,
And
I think all that would be under review, but yeah, to your point, if they. do
we just
want
need to know.
Right.
And so the school board president has changed and we have a new superintendent. And so a lot of things could have changed, but adding a position, a police position at the high school or the school in general would be a big concern that we need to know about hiring and funding. Because it's my understanding in the past when they had one, the school district did pay for it. But I don't know. So that's something we need to figure
I mean,
out.
it's still an FTE that would, still be a police officer. And I know that they're still on the lookout for one right now.
Correct.
And they extended the
Right.
search.
So those are the two things I'm thinking of. I know long range planning is more on your, front and center right now. But going into the fall, well, honestly, we have to have that conversation with President McKay and, the new superintendent doesn't take her job until July.
Sounds like a good opportunity for a by-board meeting,
Yeah, right.
which Jim sits on, trustee Arnold.
Oh, yeah. Thank you
You're welcome.
for that opportunity.
I did
You're
notice
good,
there was
sir.
one thing, let's see, some things that were kind of high, page 36 in the document for supplies for refuse. Like we budgeted, it was for refuse and recycling. We were at 120%. We budgeted for 9,000. Maybe they just were able to buy a lot in a short time. Does that?
Yeah, that rings a bell. I believe that was just
A large purchase or
a
something?
large
or-
purchase for, I don't want to misquote. It was for, they stacked something away. I'll
Okay.
have to get back to you on
And-
that.
and
I
I-
remember them, and it's like an offsetting year.
Okay,
It's not something that's going to reoccur year over year.
okay. And the other thing that I thought was odd, it was on page 35, we had no contracted electrician cost for the streetlights. I thought, well, maybe the streetlights have been behaving for the last 3 months instead of, but I can ask Leanne about that too. Because we have been hiring out, I believe, our streetlight maintenance. I think we didn't have the electrician job filled. And so I thought it was odd that there were no costs there, but it said that we were up to 100% of our budget there. So I thought maybe that was just a typo. In a couple of, that's page 35, no contracted electrician for the streetlight category. Because traditionally we've had a lot of outages and it's been high, but maybe it's been a milder first quarter than it seems. And I noticed on 46, you had a question about the debt service fund. You thought it was off by 10,000.
Yes, me and Mark are still working through getting that,
Okay,
balanced out.
okay. All right. That's all I had. All right. All good?
Yeah, this was
Any
good.
questions of us?
I do not. I'll get these answers back out to you as soon as I can.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
great. Emotion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned. At
7:15.
7:15.